So yeah, my Moon Ribas, and I define myself as a cyborg artist because I've been united with cybernetics, psychologically and biologically, in order to extend my senses beyond my natural senses. There's so many things that happen around us that we cannot perceive because our senses are limited. And I learned that if I unite myself with technology, I could reach to this imperceptible world that surrounds us. But I'll start from the beginning. And I have to say that I'm a choreographer and a dancer and a movement researcher. So my aim has been always looking to perceive movement in a deeper way. I guess as a dancer, when you're in the studio, you can create movement with your own body or with the body of other dancers, but also you can find movement. You can find movement in other places beyond humans or beyond just the dance studio. And I decided to unite to technology in order to perceive this more imperceptible movement. And first, I did some projects about the speed of the people walking in front of me. I created a kind of glove that then I put it in my earrings. And I created some earrings that vibrate every time someone was walking in front of me. And with these vibrations, I would know the speed of the people walking. And actually, I did a project defining each capital city of Europe by the speed of the citizens walking on it. So after the research, I realized that I did this because I realized that when wherever you are, you tend to walk faster or slower. We have this common movement sense. We contagiate each other with the speed of our movement. You would probably walk faster if you are in London than if you are in Rome, because there's a common movement sense. So I created a type of dictionary defining each capital city by the speed of the citizens. And I say that the fastest city was London. Also, Stockholm was very fast. And the slowest was the Vatican City. Basically, there's just one line there of people waiting. After researching the speed of the people I had in front of me, I turned around the earrings, and then this allowed me to perceive what I had behind my body. So it opened my perception to 360 degrees, and I could perceive everything I had around me. But after perceiving all these movement that surrounded me, I wanted to perceive a more profound movement, a movement. I wanted to have a sense of movement that didn't depend on other people. I was like, okay, if I would be alone in the planet, how could I perceive movement? Well, what else? What is movement if a human doesn't create it? And then I had this image of being alone in the planet, trying to feel movement. And I realized that actually the Earth is constantly moving, not only rotates by itself or around the sun, but it shakes constantly through seismic activity, through earthquakes. And then I thought it would be fascinating to be united to this huge and natural movement like an earthquake that is so big but so imperceptible at the same time. So since 2013, I started what I call the Seismic Sense. So I put some implants in my feet that were connected to online seismographs. And whenever there was some seismic activity online, I would feel a vibration inside my body. I passed the photo because some people are sensitive. So yeah, I had these implants in my feet that were connected to online seismographs. So every time I got the new data, new seismic data, I would feel a vibration inside my body, and depending of the intensity of the earthquake, the vibration I would feel would be stronger or less strong. So I call this the seismic sense, the sense of feeling the seismic activity of the planet in real time. And of course, at first I had to get used to feeling all these vibrations constantly. So at the beginning, I while I would feel the vibration, I would like stop talking or would get really distracted very easily because of the vibrations. During my sleep, I would wake up more often because of the vibrations. But little by little, I got used to feeling all these vibrations inside myself. And a way that I had to describe it, it was like I added a new beat inside my body. We have the heartbeat, and I also had the earth beat. having its own rhythm inside my body. And I call this cyborg art. For me, cyborg art, it's the design of your own perception of reality. So the artwork of a cyborg artist would be the creation of a new sense, a new organ that allows you to modify your own perception of reality. So I see the seismic sense as my own artwork. Like the problem that this is with cyborg art is actually the artist is the only one perceiving their own art. So in a way, I'm the only one in the audience perceiving this. It's kind of individualistic, I guess, no? We So with cyborg art, the artwork, the audience, and like what it happens, the stage of the museum is inside oneself, inside the body. So in order to share what I feel, I create performances and external art pieces in order to share with the experience of it. One of the pieces that I have, it's called Waiting for Earthquakes. And it's a dance piece. It's a durational dance piece. So it can last 10 minutes or it can last hours. It doesn't have a beginning or an end because it's based on real time. And I usually do it in museums and I stand still. And whenever there's an earthquake, I move according to the intensity of the seismic activity. So if there are no earthquakes during the performance, there will be no dance. Some festivals are always worried about this, but there's always some seismic activity happening. So this piece, I see it be a bit like a duet between the earth and myself. Actually, earth is the choreographer of the piece, and I'm just there interpreting the data that she gives me. Another way that I have to share this is through percussion. I call this seismic percussion. And there's two ways of doing it. One is based also in real time. So depending of the earthquakes happening, the intensity and the rhythm of the music changes. But I also create seismic scores that look like this. The first one I did, for example, was in Mexico, and I researched all the earthquakes that have happened in Mexico in the last 50 years, and I put it all together in a score that lasts around 10 minutes. And I went to Mexico to play the drum, so people from Mexico could hear how their country had been moving seismically. So in that case, Earth is the composer of the piece, and I'm just the interpreter. Now, my aim also as a choreographer is to do a piece that it can work on a stage. So this year, actually, I premiered a stage piece when I'm collaborating with natural phenomena. So to treat a natural phenomena as interpreter, as a performer. And we just premiered last summer a piece that is called Phenomena. I'm doing it with a contemporary circus performer, myself, and ice. Ice that becomes water and also ice with some gas. So it's water with solid liquids and gas. So we, depending on the temperature of the stage, the piece lasts more or less. And actually, we're gonna perform it this Saturday in Girona. I'm not sure if you're around, but you're welcome to come. Also in 2010, I co-founded the Cyborg Foundation with my childhood friend, Neil Harbison. And basically we founded with three aims. One was to help humans to become cyborgs. The other one was to promote cyborg art as an artistic movement. And the other one was to defend the cyborg rights, the right and the freedom of deciding how many organs and senses do you want to have. Since it was coined, this word, it has been used in many different ways. Actually, this word was coined and was created by Manfred Clance and Nathan Klein. NASA asked these two people to write an article for the NASA magazine, and they felt that we needed another word apart from bionic and mechanic. And they thought if it's in human nature to keep exploring and to leave the earth and live in a space, we would need to modify ourselves instead of living inside of spaceships. So this, when cyborg was created, it was like the modification of oneself in order to survive in other environments. So we take this word and we say maybe it's time to modify ourselves in order to understand better the planet we lived in. But since it was coined, it has been used in many different ways, especially in science fiction movies. So from the Cyber Foundation, we see that being a cyborg is an identity, and there's many ways of identifying yourself as a cyborg. And we think, well, maybe one could be a psychological cyborg, which is the psychological union of being united to cybernetics. Maybe most of you are already psychological cyborgs, where because you say when your phone is running out of battery, you're saying I'm running out of battery instead of saying my mobile phone is running out of battery. So you have this psychological union with the technology. My one can be maybe a biological cyborg, which is the physical union between cybernetics and an organism. One could be maybe a neurological cyborg, which is the modification of the mind and the brain because they've been united with cybernetics for so long. And actually last year I came with another term because I've been having the Seismic Sense for almost 7 years, but last year I decided to take the implants out in order to have new experiences. I wanted a radical change, and this was the most radical thing I could do. I was more scared to take the implants out than to put them in, I have to say. I thought that everything would change completely, and then I realized that actually, for at the same moment I took the implants out, nothing changed because I could feel the vibrations even if my implants were not inside my body. So I had like a phantom effect. Like some people that have accidents and lose a limb, they still sometimes they feel that they still have the limb even if they lost it. So it happened the same to me. I had this phantom effect of feeling the vibrations even if I didn't have the implants. So then I thought that maybe I was a phantom cyborg for a while. Now, after some months, the vibrations have stopped, and now I'm looking for a new sense, probably related to water and to the ocean. Apart from identifying ourselves as cyborgs, we also identify ourselves as transspecies because we have new senses and new body parts that are not defined as a human sense or human body part. We see it a bit different from transhumanism, even if it's very broad and everyone has its own way of defining transhumanism, but it's usually very based on the human and about improving humans. And we go away a bit of that. We don't think that adding new senses improves us, but it just gives us another experience of reality. Maybe to feel earthquakes for someone else, it's not better, it's worse. So it's very subjective to be better or worse. And we feel that we are species because we consider other animals and other species also. We feel like we are on the same level. So Neil Harbison, he feels species because he has an antenna implanted in his head that it's not, antennas are not for humans, they are more in the animal world. Uh, this is Neil, he's an artist, and this antenna transforms colors into sound, so he can hear the color. Actually, when he went to implant, he wanted to implant the antenna into his skull. Well, he has the antenna implanted in his skull, and he went to a hospital to ask if he could do it. And the hospital said that he needed to talk to the bioethical committee. So he went there to give a talk. And then at the end, the committee decided that they wouldn't do it, basically for three reasons. One, that it was not important. The second one is that it could be dangerous. And the third one is that they were worried about the image that it would give to the hospital, like a man coming in normal and coming out with an antenna. And it's not for the same reasons, but we find a parallelism with the transgender community. Like in the 20s and the 30s, if a man would feel that they had the body of a woman and they wanted to have an operation, the reasons that were given to them was the same one, that it was not important, that it could be dangerous, and they were worried about the image that the hospital would do, like coming in as a man and coming out as a woman. So we hope that on the 50s or soon, it would be normal to have surgery to have new body parts and new sensors. Some other projects that we did was actually, we were invited in Brazil to do a workshop with some engineers. Neil had a tooth missing and I had also a tooth missing. So we had this idea of Neil had a tooth implanted in his mouth and I had another tooth implanted in my mouth. And whenever I click like this, he would feel a vibration. Whenever he clicked, I would feel a vibration. We both learned the Morse code. So we were actually able to communicate from tooth to tooth via Morse code by clicking our mouth. So we call this the transcendental communication system. We did a tryout, like a little performance. I was sitting at the end of a table, Neil was sitting at the other end of a table, and the audience would write a word, and by clicking, he would feel vibration, and then he wrote the word. So it was the first tryout of the transcendental communication system. We think that maybe it's a system that can work for people who cannot move any part of the body or maybe into space because you don't need air to communicate with each other. And it was actually created with Bluetooth. So it's actually a Bluetooth tooth for real. Some other projects, this is Manel de Aguas, an artist from Barcelona too. He has some things implanted in on the top of his ears. The photo on the right is a bit old. I will have to update it. Now he has it implanted. And these things allow him to perceive the weather, so he can feel the atmospheric pressure, the humidity, and the temperature. So if you know the atmospheric pressure, you can know if it's going to rain or if it's going to be sunny. So he's actually feeling the weather. He's actually the weatherman for real. This is also a sense that we created, that it was to feel the pollution of the air. If we all had this, maybe our way of going home would change. You would choose the less polluted way to arrive home. Kyle Andre is another artist from Barcelona that he can feel the cosmic rays from Spain, from a space into sound. He creates music with this. And there's some projects more about feeling the north and also retroception, and all the senses that we're developing. Actually, we feel that now that we are defining ourselves as cyborgs, we don't feel closer to robots or to machines. We actually feel closer to other animals and to the planet itself. I don't think you need to think about science fiction or very imaginary things. Just looking at animals, you can get really inspired by how to perceive our own planet. For me, I think it's very different to know that the Earth is moving than actually to feel that the Earth is moving. And look at the senses that other animals have. For example, infrared already exists, ultraviolet, some animals can perceive ultraviolet, some animals can fly, some animals can create light by themselves. Even immortality already exists in nature because there's a jellyfish that keeps regenerating. So nature can be very inspiring in order to add new senses or how we can understand our planet differently. And we see this, that it's not virtual reality or it's not augmented reality. We say that it's revealed reality, because your planet is in this way because you perceive it in this way. But if you extend your senses, it's like revealing this reality that it was limited by your own natural senses. It's not something imaginative. What are we feeling? It's something that it belongs to reality and to nature. So that's why it's like a revealed reality. And we also think that for many and many years, humans have been changing the planet in order to live more comfortable. But maybe we have arrived in time that we should modify ourselves in order to adapt better to the planet we live in order to understand better how our planet works. For example, now that I've been perceiving earthquakes for so long, I find it very weird that, for example, San Francisco exists. It's actually very dangerous place to live, not because it's in the edge of the tectonic plates and it moves so much. instead of, for example, creating artificial light, maybe we could add some night vision and not having to light up half of the planet when it's night. Or if we all have, everyone had its own heating or its own to regulate their own temperature, we wouldn't have to heat up or cool down the planet itself. We could regulate ourselves. And yeah, I think that's it. I just think that we are the ones that need to make sure that the union between technology and ourselves doesn't alienate us from nature, but instead we can get closer to it. We can get to know our planet in a deeper way, get closer to other animals and even to space. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much, Moon. So let's take some questions from the audience. You have some questions? Or maybe I can start with. So maybe I'd like to know a little bit more about like what was your first motivation to start explore both like combining art, technology, and making something out of it?
It was something natural, a progress for me. I grew
Moon,
up.
can you unmute yourself?
I am muted? No. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Great. So yeah, I grew up very apart from technology. So I always found that when I grew up, the technology was alienating ourselves from reality. I always found it very cold and distant. And it was when I went to college, then I realized that I could use this technology in a more natural way, something more poetic. It kind of happened slowly. I didn't decide it one day or something. It was more about artistic exploration, and one thing led to another.
So it has happened naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have some more ideas what like for the future?
One, I'm doing a project, but now I still cannot say what it is. I still can't say. It's for next year. I will probably be able to talk about it. But for now, it's more about creating a stage pieces, inviting natural phenomena on a stage, and also finding a new sense that relates me and gets me closer to the ocean and to the sea. I feel like I've been united to the earth for so many years that I feel I want to explore the ocean now.
That sounds cool. I think in general, there's some also interesting ideas, but a lot of people still get kind of scared of implementing technology into their, or implanting technology into their bodies. So what kind of feeling you have experienced through implanting seismic sense into your body?
I would say that it's also a slow process. I didn't implant it right away. First, I had it outside, then I implanted it in my arm, then I changed it. I think I wouldn't do the implant right away. I think you need to be sure what you want. First, explore it as an exercise. So to have it all the time in your body and just getting used to it for your brain and as a new sense. And the last step is the implant. And the implant actually I did because it was more comfortable than actually having all the time something. I don't think it's not as scary. We use biocompatible materials. And I mean, I think humans have always been modified. I mean, we have done tattoos, like even like centuries ago, women no used to wear things to do to be more little, no, from the I know I forgot this cinturón, like the feet small, the long neck. We always been modifying our own body. But and now, for example, plastic surgery, I feel like this it's much more scary than putting a little implant. Depending of the implant that you put, it can be very not so intrusive, or not like it's just a little cut. So I don't know, but you can find other ways of having a new sense that it's not with an implant.
Great. We have some question from here.
Hello, I'm Camille. I'm a painter. I would like to ask you, so during 7 years, you had the sensor.
Yes.
And the technology changed at that point? Because it's quite a while, it's quite a long time in a way. Did you change and adapt the technology and had multiple operations?
Yes, I can hear other people. Yes, it has changed. Yeah, as I explained before, no, like the beginning that I was feeling seismic activity, I had it, for example, on my wrist, and it was a very big. And then I moved it up to my arm because it felt like it was more comfortable. I found it a small way to put it, so I implanted my arms. And then after a while, I realized that it didn't make sense to feel earthquakes in my arms. But if humans would have this sense, we would have it on the feet. So then I changed the implants into my feet. So it has always been a long process of exploring and finding out new ways of perceiving it as technologically and designing new ways. It's always, I think, like once you do it, it's sometimes it's difficult to know the best way just by thinking. When you are like actually feeling it, then you realize what would be the next step.
So you made a diary every time, every day of your last 7 years, or how did you?
No, I didn't do a diary.
Collected all the data.
No, something that people ask that we save the data. I don't think that's relevant for me. I mean, the data is online. It's more about perceiving it all the time. It's like a new sense. I don't do a data of all the things I hear, all the things I see, all the things I smell. I just feel them. So in the same way,
organic
it's like,
data.
Sorry. Sorry, I hear a lot of noise. What did you say?
It's an organic data. A pure sensation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I call it like a sense. That's why it's a data that at the beginning you have to get used to it. It's like creating a new language, and then when it becomes really part of you. For example, when I was very stressed, I didn't even feel it that much, and when I was more calm, I would feel it more. In the same way, like other senses.
Beautiful.
Lots of echo. Sorry if I don't understand it.
Does when you have joining online have some questions?
someone has another question.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. So my sound is coming from another one, but like kind of you can see my video like kind of with the pink jacket. So I think it's a little bit confusing, but it's the browser problem. Anyway, I am a design researcher, and I just graduated from my master, which is like human computer interaction. But now I would like to ask you about how do you see the opportunity of the cyborg art to help with accessibility in art? Do you see any, like, kind of, do you have any opinions on that? Or, yeah.
About accessibility, like
Yeah,
for
like kind of, do you, although it's not directly related to how art can be accessible, but do you see cyborg art as an opportunity, or do you see any relationship with that, with accessibility?
yeah, I think everyone that is curious can create to that. And sometimes I say, no, that like the beautiful thing about it is that we are the ones I mean, you can decide how to experience your own reality and your own planet, no? Instead of, I mean, I don't want everyone to feel earthquakes. I want everyone to find new ways of exploring the reality. Like sometimes we say, no, that it can be like imagining the future, maybe going to the bar, and apart from asking where you from, I would ask what sense do you have, no? How did you decide to perceive reality? So I imagine a future with much more diverse. Like now, I think we established a society with a very restrained way of being, and we would like to open that. Like I think we are starting like very slowly to accept that people don't identify just as men or women. We can identify many in many more genders. So even I would take it even more further, and apart from the gender, like defining if you feel human or not human, and how do you want to exist, and we should open these boundaries and really be ready for a society that it will be much more diverse, with people being different, with new organs or new senses. I think we need new words also to try to define all these new ways of being and new existence. And I think accessible. I hope yes. Also, sometimes people say that maybe it belongs to rich people. Well, I personally have to say, for us, I don't come from a rich world at all. I was studying while I was working as a waitress, so we always paid for everything. I think you can modify your perception of reality with very cheap things. For example, my sensors, when I used to feel the speed of the people, everything cost me 25 euros. So it's much, much more cheaper than an iPhone. And actually also about accessibility, I think even new generations much more ready actually than our generation. I mean, they know how to code in a school. They learn how to code in a school, and I think this is very important. Also, that the technology is given to us. It's not a technology that a very rich and powerful factory has given us. I think hackers or like new generations, I think it's important that we questioned the technology that is given to us, and maybe we can hack it and make it ourselves, and question and destroy it and reassemble, and yeah, and make it much more accessible for everyone and for your own needs.
Thank you. And I just wonder, because you also explained it yourself that at least the sensor you got on your feet are very individual, right? Like kind of it's very related to how you and only you can feel it. And I think you intentionally transmit that, but just like kind of express what you feel through your choreography, your dance. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I just in that sense, do you see any barrier or boundary of using your dance to express your feeling?
I mean, actually, we were talking the other day in our studio. It would, for me, it would be impossible to really, really share what I feel if you don't have these implants. Even if you also had these implants, what we would feel would be different. But this is always with the senses. What we taste, we cannot compare it because we are the only ones tasting it. Some people will like it, some people not. Some people find it more salty. So it just what happens, how you perceive reality. It's just you are the only one doing this. So yeah, it is. We were saying that I feel like I can share the cons in other find other ways to share it. It's what I'm working on. But to feel exactly what I feel, I think it's impossible. But I think it has always been like this. When someone, maybe an artist, paints a painting because he feels sad, or he feels like he has a very deep feeling, how can he transmit this deep feeling? By the painting, no, like by his own tools. So I feel like I try to do the same. And having this new perception or this new feeling, and then I found other ways to share it.
Okay, so it's probably just the nuance of expression. But yeah, thank you a lot. Thank you.
I have a
Thanks so
question.
much. Is there any other question?
Yes, I do. Masaki. Here, this is Zainab. Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me, Moon?
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. This was an incredibly inspiring presentation and amazing work. I just was wondering, do you see cyborg art as a continuum for human evolution? And what kind of ethical considerations do you think it bears? For instance, do you think that anybody who wants an implant, a biological temperament, should be able to do it, access it? And also, do you think that these technological dependencies or interdependencies that we create with technology has other implications, such as heightening a sensitivity on one side and curbing your other senses on the other side? Do you see any imbalances there?
Okay, I'll start for the first one. I think you said if I see it as the future, I see that it's more one alternative way of living the future. I don't think it's one future. Is, as I said, no. I think the future will be very diverse. People who won't have technology at all, and maybe people more connected to it. I think it will be just one alternative way of doing it. What else? You asked me. Sorry.
You think there are ethical issues in there involved? Like, do you think anybody
yeah.
who?
Yeah. Yeah. This is also like something that we want to define with cyborg rights. I don't think there's a limit. For example, our ethic, what we think from the Cyber Foundation is that we would never modify an animal or a child. I think everyone has to be free to decide what senses and organs do they want to have. Like, it's the freedom from oneself. So we never put an implant to not obligate anyone to have anything. It's your own way of perceiving the reality. And in case someone wants to put an implant to damage other people, which I hope doesn't happen, then that's why maybe we need some rights or some rules, or like society needs to be prepared for this. For example, Neil usually does a very good example that in the same ways there's some laws of limiting what you can see and you cannot see. For example, on internet, it's not that we apply people make us blind. It's just that there are things that you can see and things that you cannot see. No, so I wouldn't forbid the implants. It's just it depends of the use. So I think this could be limited. And I think from my own point of view, there's many ways of using technology. I think it has been used in many practical ways, no? Usually technology, right, or for medical reasons, or for like finding solutions. In this practical way, for example, I say that there's a company, in Sweden. I think that most of the employees, they have NRFIDs, and they can open the door with their hand, or like they're thinking of how to pay the bus with this chip. And this technology for technology, actually, I think I wouldn't put an implant just to open a door or to pay the bus. This like actually doesn't fulfill me, they don't. But there's many ways. As people are, there's so many ways of uniting to technology. But for me, I think it has changed a lot. Like, I think if you create new senses in order to understand better your own planet and to get closer to other species, you create more empathy towards you connect to it in a deeper way, and you know it better, in the same way that when you know your neighbors, and when you have your animal at home, you treated them better because you know them better and you connect to them better. In the same way with the planet, if you understand it in a deeper way, then I hope you can create more empathy, and you learn how to live in your own planet. For me, it was shocking, like, to feel how many earthquakes. I mean, I knew that the earth moved a lot, but actually to feel it. And then I realized, how is it possible that cities exist in general? Like, if the planet is constantly moving, we forget about it, no? I feel like, extending your senses can connect us to reality better. But sometimes I feel very destructive about the future. I'm like, this will go bad. But I also have lots of hope. I mean, I think young generations, it's very normal now to be vegetarian or vegan. So there's lots of conscious to other species, climate change. So I think there's a generation growing up being very with lots of empathy or towards our planet. So I think there's hope. And I think also about this practical way of using technology, I think now we also have arrived in a time that, because of the new generations have grew up with technology surrounded in their daily life, it's normal that we find more experimental ways of united with this technology, not just for practical uses. It's normal that we can experiment, and I think it will be much more normal to use it in art and in other ways, in other worlds, not just the practical one.
Thank
you.
Great, thank you. So I think Moon has to go. So again, thank you so much for everyone who has joined today. And again, thank you so much to Moon Ribas for sharing with us your experiences and ideas. It was so exciting. And yeah, so I hope to see you everybody back again soon in the future. So thank you so much for today.